Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video. I'm not sure how common it is for the newly wedded to get into outrageous arguments about family affairs and life goals. I'm pretty sure every young couple is supposed to be so madly in love that they barely pause to notice how everything around them is falling apart or in the wrong place. However uncommon it may be, my husband and I's marriage has been going through quite a lot, even though we've only been married for a couple of years. And I'm not even sure if a couple of years means we're considered newlyweds. But I'm also not sure if his family is supposed to be over every couple of days to rummage through our groceries and consume the entirety of everything that exists in our pantry. It goes to the extent of consuming what is supposed to be the entire month's shopping list for my husband and I, being consumed in barely a single day. And even though we're not necessarily struggling financially in any way, shape, or form, seeing that we both have stable jobs and nothing to spend our money on, it still bothers me that instead of shopping once a month, I find myself shopping once, twice, or even 3 times a week. We make good money, yes, but I would like to be saving the money instead of spending it on a family of over 10 people. I want to save my money so that I can either get a better car or buy a bigger house, or most importantly, make a healthier, safer, and more convenient environment to create a family. That's what we had discussed previously and what our marriage was headed towards. Before we even got married, after many medical examinations and going through a plethora of doctors, we came to the realization that we won't be able to have biological kids, and we've opted for considering adoption as soon as possible because we're both aware that there is no better time than now, and we're willing to do and take all the procedures necessary to adopt a child and provide a good life for them. And again, at least that's what I thought we were headed towards and what we had discussed in the early months of this year, when his family members started dropping by our home as if it was theirs in a literal and consistent and non-stop sense, and it started taking a toll on our marriage. Our discussions about it changed from having a conservationist tone to an argumentative one. And by argumentative, I'm not saying that we had a discussion in which both of us gave our arguments. I'm saying that we had fights about it every time they came over. And that's very strange considering the fact that we're supposed to be in our madly in love phase. And the worst part is that now if I bring up the extreme spending and the fact that it's influencing our ability to adopt as soon as possible, my husband just throws me off and tells me to leave it to time or to handle whatever problems we have now before we consider having kids, when the only problem we have is his family. Whatever stupid arguments these are, they led to us not speaking 2, 3, 4 days at a time. He just absolutely ignores my existence in his life, even if I address him directly, which is extremely strange considering that our reasons of dispute aren't even that bad. When things got to this point, I suggested that we go see my therapist, who is also a marriage consultant. I had to suggest it to him knowing he was in a good mood because elsewise, I knew he would just throw me off again like he had always been doing about the adoption. When we talked to the therapist, she said that our arguments being as bad as they are is probably because both of us are presenting our arguments from a place of bias and blindsidedness. He is blindsided by his love and affection towards his family and adoration and inability to let go of the life he has now and accept change. And I, on the other hand, don't have the ability to get sentimentally attached to either familial atmospheres or current situations. And I guess the difference in the way we view things is leading to whatever arguments we're having, instead of them actually being that problematic, which makes sense. If you think about it objectively, she said that we should probably make an expectation list in which we list off things that we need to be doing, either regarding our marriage or either the way we interact with one another, and we should commit to it for an entire month before returning to her and discussing the results and the outcomes of this step with her. She told us not to contact her during the entire month, and however many times you have to start over, we have to do it, until we succeed at going about an entire month of adhering to each other's expectations list. She said it should clarify things and explain to one another the things we think should be different about the relationship and therefore show us a clearer path of what we need to do to make it work. That night, we sat in two different rooms and focused on creating our lists and including all of the things that we think should be incorporated into our relationships and interactions for the entire following month. His so happened to be a straight up just offensive. It was very strange and odd, and definitely not what a person who's in love would want from the person they're in love with. He requested that I don't speak to him in the morning until 10 a.m. and don't discuss any life matters or affairs after 10 p.m. He said that I don't have the right to tell his family what they can or can't do. Also, don't have the right to tell him when they can or can't come to our house, as it belongs to him and I, and he was just making decisions about how much we spend in it and what we do with it as if I'm not part of that hour. He suggested that I take out my own trash and take my car to the repair shop when it needs repairing or washing and handle all the things that I had placed on him as my husband. In a sense, what the therapist suggested ended up working because these requests clearly filtered something they displayed what he was looking for. He was looking for distance. He wanted me to talk less with him, interact less with his family, and take back the things I had let him manage as my spouse. I read that we should talk more about whether and when we would be having kids. I requested that we minimize the influence of external factors on our marriage, including my family and his combined. His were the entire opposite of what I was trying to do. I was trying to repair the relationship and fix whatever was wrong with it, and he was trying to distance himself and end whatever marital connection we have to one another. I told him that if he wasn't ready for marriage or if he regretted his decision to marry me, then he has every right to leave. Because storing problems and hiding behind these requests and shitty actions is only cowardly. He should speak up with an open chest and tell me what he wants to my face, or get the hell away from me and do what he always wanted to do and remain silent. I'm not sure if I was too harsh on him or if I was still awfully blindsided by my bias towards myself and what I think is right and fits. I feel like his list had just one goal, which was distancing himself from me and letting me know that he's not dependent on me, nor does he love me to bother envisioning something in the far future which includes me. I'm currently staying at my mother's place and I've been here a couple of days, and I have no intention of either calling him or going back home. If he wants me back, he's gonna call me or ask me to come back. And if he doesn't, I'm just gonna wait out till the end of the month and our appointment with the therapist and figure out with her and tell whether this marriage is repairable at all. I'm kind of sick of being the one that takes initiative to repair the relationship and plunging on him like I need him or I'm dependent on him. If he wants us to work, he's going to try to make things work out. And if he doesn't want me, then I'm not going to fight for something that I'll regret in 20 years' time. Not the a-hole. Sounds like he's really uninterested in the whole relationship. And I wouldn't even be surprised if his family comes over every so often as if he's doing. I understand if he has attachment issues and finds it very hard to let go of what he's been used to his entire life. But to let go of his relationship for his old life, which didn't include you, is just another way of saying he's not ready, nor is he fit to be married to you. Not the a-hole. They say that relationships only work out when the man loves a woman more, because men suck at explaining how much they actually love you. So if a man loves a woman at 100%, he's gonna show it at 50%. He needs to love you at 200 to show it at 100%. And I think this just goes to show that maybe you guys love each other equally, but he's showing it in the worst way possible. I'm not sure if this means your relationship isn't going to work out, but I guess you can wait it out and see what the therapist has to say about everything. My guy probably still wants to hang out with his pals and play video games all night long, while drinking beers while whipping cheers on their shirts and laughing about it, lol. He married someone who has a vision and big life goals. You want a better house, you want kids, you want a healthy relationship. And I'm not saying that you're putting pressure on him in the bad sense, but he probably doesn't even want most of the things you do. neither one of you is in the wrong here, and that's why I'm not going to say whether you are or aren't an a-hole. Next story. My parents grew up in poverty, and I'm the only one who was able to get a college education. I've been able to build a solid career for myself. I'm tutoring my niece and nephew. We also have conversations about work and life in general. They're both in high school, and my niece will go to college next year. We were discussing racism and how I dealt with it. I told them that it was very hard to deal with and you had to pick your battles when you don't have any leverage, and I worked in a traditionally conservative sector and things were probably better now. I told them about the first job I had after college. It was in a great company with a reputation which opened doors. I was one of 3 direct reports working under my boss, but he was less open with me while he was very open and helpful with his white subordinates. I had the best numbers, but I still got worse reviews than either of them. I thought it was my fault until one of the other subordinates told me that she has heard him crack a racist joke about me. I didn't do anything about it, and it was hard working under someone like that, but I still did great work, and I knew that I had to do better than my colleagues. It was a hard trade-off to make, as the 3 years I spent there set up the next 10 years of my career. I also talk about how the same person who told me about the racist boss and was sympathetic about it complained and called me a token hire when we were up for a promotion. I told him that there was no right answer to these situations, and I would do something different if it had been happening to someone else, and I was able to deal more proactively with racism after I reached a certain level of seniority in my career, and I had a hard time tolerating racism against people other than myself. I also told them about my time where my friend complained about racism and it got her boss fired. But even then, she found herself locked out of promotions. She felt that he was fired not because he was racist, but because he was too dumb to hide it well. I also told them that having a white guy supporting these claims would really help be taken seriously. My wife overheard it, and she feels like I'm being too cynical and giving them cold and calculative advice, which would just blunt their optimism, and things were probably different now. I feel guilty because I wanted to be real about how things work in the corporate world and not give them advice that had worked for me, but I think I was overly cynical about it. Not the a-hole. I have had similar conversations with my daughters, albeit regarding different isms. Part of preparing young adults for real life is helping them understand reality. We each made decisions we thought were best for us at that time. Some were good, some were bad. It's not a bad thing to discuss with willing teenagers. I hope their world is better, but with the rise of outward racism these days, I'm only cautiously hopeful. Not the a-hole. It's good advice. Everyone needs to know going in that their race, their gender, their nationality, their religion, their health, their attractiveness, everything plays a part in how they are perceived. People of color do need to know that if they're promoted, many whites will think it's because they are tokens. Whites need to know that if they're promoted, people of color will think it's because they are white. When women get promoted, men think they got it because they're tokens or sleeping with someone. When men get promoted, women think it's the old boy club at work. We are all standing around assessing one another all the time. It never stops and it never will. Next story. Thursday, we had a big snowstorm. They pay someone to do their driveway, but I was informed that I'd have to clean my own car, which is fine. Mother-in-law's husband went out to clean off his car and mother-in-law's. He dumped all of the snow onto mine and my husband's cars. So when we were out later, it was so heavy and hard to clean, and then we got witched at for getting too much snow in the driveway. Friday was their anniversary. They had plans but were napping before. I went into the room and threw some snow at them because I was mad. I know that was childish, but so was what he did to my car. Mother-in-law came downstairs later and cussed at me because she wanted to wear a particular skirt, which is pretty short, and she had a big red bump on her outer thigh area and said it was from the snow. She wasn't wearing pants when I threw the snow, but it looked literally impossible that the snow did that. Mother-in-law's husband laughed and told her that he told her it was a spider bite and snow couldn't do that. Mother-in-law just rolled her eyes. She wore a longer dress and they went out. She seemed happy the next morning when I saw her. Well, then I heard mother-in-law had told her parents and other family that I had ruined their anniversary by marking her leg, and she never gets to go out. That isn't totally true, but she has been working a lot due to a COVID surge in our area, and then she was sick for a while. Prior to that, she went out frequently. She whined that she didn't get to go out New Year's Eve because she got paged in, and I ruined her only time to wear that dumb skirt. I texted the group chat this exactly. Hi. I just wanted to clear up some misinformation about what mother-in-law's name said. I did throw a snowball at her. That was wrong of me. But her husband's name intentionally buried our cars in snow, and I just had to spend an hour cleaning the mess. The mark on her leg is from a spider bite, which you probably know she is allergic or whatever. And bug bites always get that large and red on her. I just didn't want people to be talking about me or my name to be slandered. Have a great weekend, everyone. Mother-in-law and her husband have been calling me a dramatic shit stirrer and accusing me of trying to make her look bad. So, what the F did mother-in-law have to do with any of this? Father-in-law buried your car under the snow, not her. You handle your frustration over the situation by throwing snow at them while they're in bed, sleeping. What the F? Are you 10? This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole, yes. What your mother-in-law's husband did was pretty inconsiderate, but you took it to another level and acted with complete malice, and then tried to make yourself look better in a group chat by minimizing your actions. You don't know for certain that what happened to her leg was not a result of your malicious actions. Do better. Next story. I-20 female was talking to my uncle, 45-ish male, and my dad last night. My uncle was complaining that his house wasn't getting much interest when everyone told him that in this market it would sell fast. It's a really big house, 6 bedrooms and 4 full bathrooms, but it's in one of the poorest areas in the state. When you look up the area online, it's one of the highest priced houses. He said the real estate agent is going to try to advertise to a city about 45 miles away, but in a different state with really high prices. I told him that the addition he added onto it, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, made it too expensive for his neighborhood, and no one is going to pay that much to live there. He has 5 kids, so the addition made sense, but I don't think it added as much value as it cost. He told me that I didn't know what I was talking about and I shouldn't give my opinion on topics that I don't understand. He said that there is a house a mile away that sold for more than his asking price a few months ago. I stopped paying attention after that because I was upset at him just dismissing my opinion. You're the a-hole. You have an opinion and that's fine, but you don't have a background in realty nor home appraisal. You're mad he dismissed your opinion, but not every opinion is valuable or needed. Sometimes keeping your mouth shut is the correct course of action. Moreover, you're not doing any good by crapping on his hopes. You're just shitting on him. He already built the extension. Now he's trying to sell the house. What good does it do to tell him that it's not going to be able to? The realtor has a vested interest in the sale. If the price needs to go down, let them tell him. No a-holes here. You made some valid points, but he probably has some too. Building and buying houses is a super difficult topic, and it's a lot more than just this area is poor, so his house won't sell for a lot. There is a lot of things that still put people that are rather well off in poorer areas too. It's not about the area, but the quality of the house a lot as well. Some people stay within their hometown for pure sentiment. Others buy a second house to stay close to family. Others will just buy and rent property out. You don't mean anything bad, you're just concerned. You're not an a-hole. Neither is your uncle if he gets annoyed by you not seeing the bigger picture or whatever. He didn't yell at you or anything, but made clear he wasn't really interested in your input anymore, which is okay.